movies of various genres and decades. Stay tuned for this episode. All right, we're back. MovieNaut, we got part 2 to our Supernatural and Occult movies. And let's just let Bill start out.
Okay, so part 2 of our occult movies. This is one that I was just telling the guys. I almost made my list the first time, but it didn't quite make that one, so I decided to look at Hacks and Witchcraft Through the Ages. It's a silent movie from 1922. It's actually kind of a documentary, sort of, kind of, but it looks at a lot of different Satan and witchcraft and things, and it does conflate. I think we've talked about this on the show before. It does conflate witchcraft and Satanism, as a lot of movies do, which are not actually the same. But this, a lot of movies mix them up like that. This one kind of does the same. It kind of looks at things all the way back, beginning of time, through the ages. It looks at medieval times, of course, a lot of stuff in the medieval times. It's very visual. A lot of silent movies back then were, because you didn't have sound. So, and there's always outlandish acting. They had to over move around their arms and everything to really grab people's attention. I think that kind of transfers over from the old stage, from stage plays and everything. But it's not a bad flick. It's not a whole lot of plot. Like I said, it's kind of more documentary type of a thing. But it does usually come up when there's conversations about movies that that look at the occult and Satan and witchcraft and things like that. So I thought, it does deserve a mention and a look if you do get a chance to see it. A lot of the devil imagery is really good. With the flames and everything like that. They do really well with that throughout the movie. But it's definitely worth a look, definitely worth a mention. I don't know if it's the first movie that ever looked at this. Maybe first full length. I don't know. I could be wrong. Probably not. There's probably something that came before it, but it's at least one of the first. It's really one of the earliest. And like I said, TCM used to show it quite frequently on their Silent Sunday nights. Used to love that show. So it's worth a look if anybody gets a chance to see it. It's just Hacks and Witchcraft Through the Ages. Just looks at a history of Satan worship and witchcraft and all that kind of thing.
I saw part of it, and it's kind of bizarre.
It is,
but in a good but in a good way. In a good way. I mean,
definitely in a good way. Yes,
but I think you have to be in a certain mood to watch it.
Well, that's probably true for most silent movies.
I would say watch it on Halloween.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Right around Halloween.
All right. Well, I'll go next this time, and I'm going back to 1960 and 13 Ghosts. We all seen the remake, and while the remake is good, this one has a little more style to it. I mean, it's obviously it's not. There's no CGI back then. It's just relying more on the storyline. But then it had some little gimmicks in the
William Castle.
William Castle, of course. He always has to have a gimmick in the movie theaters. I think it was like in select theaters. Not all the theaters had it, but probably
First
like
classes.
And but my gosh, that'd be such an amazing thing to go back in time to go witness the firsthand, or if someone can recreate some of the stuff that he did. I mean, but if you know the story of 13 Ghosts, obviously there's 13 Ghosts. It's basically a haunted house, and they kind of embellish everything in the remake. This one just down to earth. I mean, you don't have. I mean, there's just very few sets that they use compared to the remake, and while I enjoy the remake, that's one of the few remakes I do enjoy. I like this one a lot better. I don't know. Just at, at my age, I'm finding these older black and white movies that they remake. I'm finding them to be more enjoyable.
It's funny. It's funny. My wife prefers the original. I prefer the remake.
I have not seen the remake, actually. I've only seen the original.
And I heard the rumor they're either going to make a sequel to the remake or they're going to turn it into a series.
They're going to do a series, and they're going to each episode. They're going to make 13 episodes, one focused on each ghost.
That's cool. I mean,
That does sound like it has
I'd
potential.
watch it, but I hope that they kind of get more into the mythology of each of the ghosts.
The background, yeah.
I mean, and they won't, but stay away from the jump scares. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of getting tired of the jump scares. And they're calling
Never
that
been a huge
horror
fan.
movies. They're calling those horror movies. I mean, anybody that comes up behind you and goes boo and you jump, that's not a horror movie. That's just you just got scared.
That's not scaring you. That's startling you.
Yeah, and it's like so. I hope they do it right, but you never know. But
Excuse me.
anyways, if you're always curious about what the original looked like, keep an open mind when you watch it because it's completely different. Yeah.
There's also a Scooby-Doo remake, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. That one I've seen.
Oh my god.
That's cool. There's also some definite intrigue in that movie, in the original anyway, with the missing money.
Oh my.
That's right. And refresh my memory of the gimmick. Was it you could only see the ghosts with the glasses on or something like that? They were only in certain
I think they were
scenes?
basically 3D glasses, kind of.
Yeah, it was a special, and then they would just kind of flicker on the ghost.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like something like that.
Yeah. You can still buy
mean-
those glasses online. I don't know if they're reissues or what, but I think they're like,
Probably
I don't know, $15-20 for a pair of them.
that much.
It's so amazing.
Maybe they're
all
not that much.
Those gimmicks they had in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they can get. I think it'd be too expensive nowadays to do stuff like that. Especially with the newer movies or the CGIs and everything. Well, that's my first one.
Okay, well, that brings us around to me. And Bill actually was kind enough, because Bill's usually doing the Roger Corman movies. He was kind enough to let me do this one from 1963, The Raven, which The Raven is not so much a horror movie, but it's definitely a cult because you've got wizards and you've got Peter Lorre at the beginning of the movie has been turned into a raven. And Vincent Price, who's a wizard, has to cast a spell to bring him back to being a human. And then they both sort of team up to take on the guy who turned Peter Lorre into a raven, who was Boris Karloff. So you got those three greats together, but it's more of a comedy. It's a Roger Corman movie. It's very funny. You've also got Jack Nicholson in there. And it's just, the special effects, cheesy sort of animation are really effective somehow because they fit the sort of comedic nature of the movie. And now my understanding is that Boris Karloff was annoyed as hell with Peter Lorre because Peter Lorre wouldn't memorize any of his lines, so he was just winging it. And Vincent Price could play along just fine, but Boris Karloff was much more of it's got to be the way it is in the script. So I heard he was getting really annoyed with it. You can't really tell it because he was a good actor, but it's a very fun movie. It's a good time.
That is a fun one. I love the one. I think it's Peter Lorre, I think, gets zapped by Boris Karloff, and there's like a puddle of red liquid on the rug.
Raspberry jelly.
Price. Yeah, and strawberry jam?
Strawberry jam, yeah.
Like just out of nowhere. It's a crazy movie. It's fun though. It's a
very fun movie. You can't take it too seriously because it's very simple, but it's a good time.
You really couldn't take the serious ones that seriously either, but this one really just lets
us true.
hang out. Yeah.
It's
All
sort
right,
of, you know
back
what? It's sort of almost if he went with his like Little Shop of Horrors, Bucket of Blood sort of comedy and brought it to the Post stuff, you know?
there you go. Yeah, that is it's a good thought about how it is. That's about right. That's the one that they finished really early too, and then filmed two other movies afterwards.
Yeah.
They finished where Boris Karloff thought he was done, and then they made him film two more
Yeah.
movies.
Because he was not doing well by that point, I think.
Nah, it's getting that's getting late, Boris Karloff. He'd
Yeah.
be around for 3 or 4 more years,
Yeah,
I
but
think,
his
before he
health,
passes
I
on.
think he was in a lot of pain in those days and he was
I
just not
think
a
so.
happy man.
Yeah, he doesn't even stand a lot, and
Mm-mm.
you could tell his hand doesn't open all the way. He had that, you know,
Yeah.
and so, but he's still does pretty well in it. Still a fun movie.
Yep. So that's my first.
All right, so back around to me. This is a weird one, and I'm going back to Poverty Row again, 1943, PRC Pictures, my favorite Poverty Row studio. Uh, Dead Men Walk. It's a dual role by George Zucco, who plays, well, really two professors, really. All good, and one is the bad one dies at the beginning, but they investigate and they find out that he was dabbling in the occult. And in dabbling in the occult, he made himself into a vampire. So he comes back to life and he is going around killing people. And so the good George Zucco has to track down his own brother and try to bring him to justice or kill him or something. So that's your plot. Really good role by George Zucco. He knocks this one out of the park. And I believe this is also another one with Dwight Fry as his sidekick. I believe it's one of, if not the last role for Dwight Fry, because he passes on due to heart failure. He was working, they used to film at night, they used to film throughout the night, and he was working at a factory during the day. So he's literally working like 16-hour days
Jeez.
at two different places, so include the travel time, and basically worked himself to death. Unfortunate for Mr. Fry, but it's still very good movie. It's a lot of fun. A lot of I think I first saw it on Night Flight. If anybody remember Night Flight before Up All Night on USA Network,
Hmm.
the good show until they replaced it with Up All Night. Which there's an Up All Night. There's a Night Flight app that is really tempting. I really want to get a streaming app that I have not pulled the trigger on yet, but it has a lot of crazy things like this. Okay, so for those who don't, they would have a really good movie first, like a trashy movie, and second, and then way down in the wee hours of the night, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they chose junk like this.
It also had music
Um,
videos too.
yeah, and they'd have some music videos, some concerts, things like that.
Uh-huh.
They'd have that kind of stuff mixed up in there too. But way into the middle of the night, they would have like Bowery Boys movies, Three Stooges shorts, and public domain horror movies like Dead Men Walk.
Right.
Um,
It was
a
kind of a
lot of
crazy
people,
show.
it was a crazy lineup. I love that show. I was so disappointed when they took it off the air. um, Up All Night was okay too, but I preferred Night Flight. But it's a really good vampire film. It's almost a pseudo vampire. You almost don't even know he's a vampire, except that they say he's a vampire. He doesn't turn into bats or anything, but they do hunt him down. He is trying to kill people, and he dabbled in the occult and Satanism and things like that in order to get there. And oh, another thing you should bring up too. This was like a big theme in the late 1800s and early 20th century when Freud came out with the id, the ego, and the superego. A lot of plays did this. A lot of movies did this, where you had twins and one was good and one was bad. It's supposed to be the good and the bad fighting inside of everybody. Jekyll and Hyde kind of a thing. Kind of took on the same thing. The original play of Frankenstein that became the movie of 31 also did a lot with that. So that should also be mentioned. So it's kind of a piece of its air. Probably one of the last gasps of that trope that they used to use, that they were using for 20, 30. By that time, probably about 50 years. It was 1943. But anyway, thought that was worth a mention as well. But it's an interesting film. Dead Men Walk.
Sounds good. All right. My next one um, is more of a prototype film. It probably didn't get released any, that many places. It's called Within the Woods. It's from 1978, and this is the precursor to The Evil Dead. Now, it's basically the same storyline, but the only difference is there's no Book of the Dead. They interrupted ancient Indian burial ground and that released demonic spirits. No deadites, or that later on that they were, but every copy that I've seen on YouTube is very, very grainy. If you back to the VHS days, where the tracking is like just kind of having difficulty with the tracking. The good thing is it's only 30 minutes, so you don't have to endure a whole 90 minutes of that. I would say this is more of a curiosity factor for people. I kind of wish that they, on the anniversary of Evil Dead, they would package that and go in and get, if they have the original film of From Within the Woods, to put that as a bonus feature on it. I mean, because it's something kind of cool. I mean, that if it could have gone a different route. I mean, everything minus the Book of the Dead and Deadites could have just been ancient evil Indian spirits, or as now politically correct Native American spirits. And Bruce Campbell's character in it, get this, it's Bruce. They didn't go too far with trying to figure out a name for him. It just got Bruce. I mean, like I said, it's a curiosity factor that if you're ever curious where they got the ideas from, and Bill did one a while back, Equinox. That's another one where they got the ideas from. But Within the Woods, kind of to me is more closer to Equinox than Evil Dead is to Equinox. But if you can withstand the 30 minutes of that bad tracking and horrible, there's been a few of them that people just put it through their computers and trying to HD it, and I think you need to have the actual film to do that, because it's just not cleaning up well enough. But that's one, want to check it out. I mean, 30 minutes again. I mean, it's not, just, and for people that never watched a VHS, this is an ancient format. I got to tell you personally, I was so glad when DVD came out. It's just the rewind thing and tape snapping
and the fact that every time you watched it, it degraded.
Yeah.
Just a little, but if you watched it enough times.
Oh yeah, especially if you watch your favorite movie and over and over and over again,
yep.
It'll snap at some point. But that's my second one. I think people, if you like Evil Dead, should check it out.
I've seen it. It's fun. It's nothing great, but it is fun.
Yeah.
If you can, like you say, if you can put up with the quality.
Yeah. Sounds interesting.
I was hoping when someone put up the one that said HD on it, I was like, oh, please. I mean, even if they can do a little bit, all they did and the HD is cleaned up the titles. They should just say that HD titles.
There you go.
That's all they did. But onto you, Gary.
All right, so back around to me, and I'm wearing my Star Trek shirt because it ties into my second choice, which I remember when we did the one with people from different franchises, and I did Star Trek. And when I got to William Shatner, I went with Kingdom of the Spiders, but I said that Devil's Reign would have been another choice. And so Devil's Reign it is from 1975. You've got Shatner, you've got Ernest Borgnine, and an absolutely kind of crazy over the top weird 1970s vibe to it where you've got this town that's been taken over by these cultists, and this Shatner's family has this book that they need, and so they do some stuff to lure him into the town, and he's got to try to deal with the cultists, and it's very 1970s, very crazy. It's actually pretty creepy. Not the best performances in the world and not the best special effects, but it's a good movie. It's fun.
When I was little, seeing Ernest Borgnine as the devil, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was scary. I mean, it took me many years afterwards to actually sit down and watch it through all the way through because 1975, I was 9 years old. Still, people don't get it. It's back then. Some of the stuff it was pretty scary for a 9-year-old. And yeah, that's a good one.
One more weird factoid about this movie that I think is worth mentioning. Everybody always says that the mask for Michael Myers was a William Shatner mask, which it was, but they say that it was done as a death mask thing for when he was on Star Trek. That's not true. You can literally see that mask design in Devil's Reign. It was when he did Devil's Reign that they did the mask for his face to melt, basically. And so that was where that actually comes from, even though I've had people argue with me about it, say, no, it's from Star Trek. Where was there a death mask in Star Trek? Where did they use that? They never used it. It's in Devil's Reign.
Yeah. That's cool. It's always cool to find out things like that.
All right, so back around to me. My third movie, up to 1957 now.
Wow.
Curse of the Demon. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. This is pretty popular one. It gets out quite a bit. Yeah, it's another one with a professor that has disappeared, and two of his students are trying to find him, and they try to track him down, and they find out that he's been dabbling in the occult as usual, right? And people who keep looking into his whereabouts keep turning up dead. I believe it was originally a British movie, or maybe at least British and American co-production anyway. But the crazy thing about it is originally they didn't show the monster at all. They didn't want to show the monster at all. That was the original plan, which actually, if you watch it, it might have been the better film. They do show the monster once or twice, and honestly, they kind of ruin it because they show it to you after the opening credits, which if they would have just waited till the monster actually shows up, it might have been better. But it is a really cool looking monster that you've probably seen in posters and things. He's got like the giant horns coming out and smoke coming out of his face. He never moves. He's probably just a statue that they just push towards the camera once in a while to make it scary, But I mean, they did a good job. It's a hard call because they really did do a really good job of making the monster. They overshowed the monster then in the last version. Whereas the original version was to not show it at all. It seems like, if they did have a really cool version, they could have just shown it once or twice. But I believe, if I remember the story right, it was the producers who really balked that, hey, you can't have a monster movie without a monster. There's no way, they never show them. So So they made up this monster and they spliced it in here and there, and then they kind of overdid it and kind of ruined it. But but it's still not a bad movie. Decent plot and everything. But anyway, it's worth a look. Curse of the Demon. I'm sure you've probably seen the posters.
I I've seen the movie.
I
Um,
think I have to.
uh, and I think it was until they did show the monster. I think it had that scariness to where you're not sure what's coming out of.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
was another scene where there was a lot of mist happening, and it's like you were like going, "What's coming out of there?" I mean, should I run? You know?
Yeah, I think that's the train wreck, or there was something with a train. They were by the train tracks anyway. Yeah, and there's a lot of mist, and they were looking around it.
Yeah, it was a good one. I mean, I've been
Yeah, very atmospheric. So I love the atmospheric stuff. That's the best to
yeah.
me.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump up to 1980. And speaking of atmosphere, I'm picking The Hearst. This one was so scary when my dad took me to see this in the theaters, and it was there wasn't any gore to it. It was just mostly relied on the story, and it's basically it follows a school teacher from San Francisco she relocates to a smaller town, and it was a house that she inherited from her deceased aunt, only to uncover her aunt's past as a devil worshiper. So there's a lot of that going on, and it's actually it's really good. I mean, it's a slow burn by today's standards, but it's worth a worth a try to if you find it, especially if you're into slow burns. I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to convince um, someone a lot younger than us to get into those because they want something that's right out of the gate, just action going everywhere. They don't care if there's no story. They just want action. They want blood and gore, monsters and things jumping out. It's like, and it's not. This is not it. I mean, this is just like good old fashioned ghost story with some devil worship thrown in. And again, I was 14 when I saw it. Still for back when movies, I mean, they had that atmosphere, that of dread. You felt dread in these things. I mean, but then after this is when the big the slasher thing craze came in, and so those kind of movies just weren't the end thing anymore. So that is my third one.
Okay, well, back around to me, and I had to look some stuff up on IMDb because I wanted to make sure I got the cast people right. But there's a movie it was a made-for-TV movie from 1987, and it had two different titles. One title was Bay Cove, and then the other title is Bay Coven, which it's about this town called Bay Cove, which was founded by a coven of witches. Only they're more devil worshippers too. So there's your getting them mixed up. But and it had the cast was unbelievable, like Pamela Sue Martin, Tim Matheson, Woody Harrelson, Jeff Conaway, and then the biggest one, these people buy this house on this island, Bay Cove, and they're moving in there, right? There's a weird little clause in their purchase of the house that the older woman who sold them the house still gets to live on the property, and she's played by Barbara Billingsley, June Cleaver.
Oh my god!
Wow.
It's actually a pretty decent movie. I mean, it builds a little slowly. And Pamela Sue Martin's character, you talk about people making stupid decisions in horror movies. I think she's got to get the award. She makes more than I've ever seen in one movie. It's just crazy. Um, which got a little annoying, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
It does. All right, I was trying to look up a couple things out of my movie as well to refresh my memory.
Yeah.
It is back to me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure I'm not usurping anyone. So my next movie was Witchcraft from 60. Actually, no, my next movie is The Haunted Palace from 63. Excuse me. Well, now it's a spoiler for my last
We know
movie
what
is.
the fourth movie is, or fifth movie is.
But that's okay. Probably nobody's seen that one anyway. So I have the drive-in movies from the day that they did all the Corman horror movies. They did do this one, The Haunted Palace, with Lon Chaney Jr. and Vincent Price. And this is the one that is supposed to be part of the Poe series, but is really a Lovecraft movie, honestly. The Haunted Palace is the title of a poem by Poe, I should point out. So that's your Poe connection.
And they
But it
read
is
part of it at the
really,
beginning and the end, or they have it up
yeah,
on the screen at least. Yeah.
and it is about a haunted palace, and the movie's a haunted palace. But really, it's the case of Charles Dexter Ward by H.P. Lovecraft is 90. The other 95% of the movie. It's really good though, and Case of Charles Dexter Ward is my favorite Lovecraft story, and they actually do a fairly good job at it, I think, as far as any movie can do anyway, because Lovecraft doesn't always associate well with film most of the time. But they don't do too bad with this. Vincent Price inherits a palace in New England somewhere. He goes to live there, and he starts to slowly turn into his um, his predecessor from hundreds of years ago, Charles Dexter Ward. And Lon Chaney Jr. is the caretaker of the house, who also is kind of egging him on subtly, so he doesn't really understand. But that's but it is a really good one in the quote unquote Poe series, which it is, but it isn't. But it is worth watching. It's a really good one. And also a very good Lovecraft adaptation, I should say. So so we got two of them in there this time from the Norman Poe Vincent Price series.
Yes.
And I love the ending. I hate to give out the spoiler, but I just love the ending because you don't know which one
Yeah.
he is at the very end.
Right.
I'll just say it that way. But anyway.
And if I remember, they don't tell you.
No.
No, they don't.
Okay. So if
like
that is a spoiler, it's a spoiler from 60 years ago. So I mean,
Well, yeah, true enough. Fair enough. But if you haven't seen it, it's still new to you. The way I look at the old movies.
Yeah.
If I haven't seen it, it's still new to me.
True. That's true. All right. I'm going to jump now up to 1982. Superstition. Basically, it was originally released in an uncut title as The Witch. And it's just basically a witch that inhabited this area. And when this new family moves in, they do something in the basement, mess around with something. It's always the case, you know. You see something that looks like it could be bad, and you go towards it, you know. It's funny that it was shot in 1981, but it wasn't released until 85. But it's really good. It has some gore in it, but it's just like 80s gore, and it's like I think it's just perfectly placed, and it's like not excessive, but not little, and it just it's just like there. It's like that. Like I said, it's the witch that she. I believe the witch was burned in that. No, no, dunked. You know how they dunked the witches into water. There was like a little pond, so she was killed that way, and so she vowed her revenge like witches always do.
Oh, did
And
you? And your
I mean,
little dog too.
yeah, and I mean, it's really I really enjoy this. I mean, I bought it on Blu-ray about 10 or so years ago. Um, I had it on VHS, but I got one of them used copies from like a store that was liquidating stuff. So that copy didn't last too much longer after I bought it. But I think I bought it for $1 or $2, so it was like it was no love lost there. But it's a good mixture of the way they made horror movies the old way, and then starting in the 80s. I kind of consider the 80s like the starting of the new wave, where they start relying more and more on blood and guts and things like that, instead of storyline.
I'd say even mid 70s, they started with a little bit more of the gore, I would think.
And who's in this that's of note? Actually, there's really no one that we really know. I don't think they did much afterwards, but it's a good one for if people like demonic type movies, like Exorcist. What was the other? Omen, things like that. But this is a little more low budget compared to those. But it's a fun one to watch. I mean, just to see how they did those movies back in the 80s. And that's my number 4.
Okay, so we're back to me. I'm going to jump up to 1997 and make my way to New Zealand for a movie called The Ugly. Now, this movie, here's the setup. See if the setup sounds familiar. This young woman is going to visit a prisoner who's a dangerous prisoner in this facility and talk to him and get some information from him. So you've got a setup much like Silence of the Lambs, but it's a completely different movie. This guy's in an insane asylum, and he's killed lots of people, and he has been put in this asylum. And her job, she's actually like a psychologist, and her job is to determine if he is fit to be released. But it since we're doing, supernatural and occult, it definitely is supernatural because he claims there are these voices that tell him to kill. Well, before the movie's over, you see them. I mean, they're there. The only thing is, this movie's one of these movies where it's like it blurs the lines of reality, so you're never really sure what's real in this thing and what isn't. I mean, there are some weird tip-offs early, like the institution is really odd. It seems like there's only one other patient, and there's one doctor, and 2 orderlies, and the orderlies dress in an odd manner for being professional. So I don't know. There's sort of an explanation given to that later that could be applied to it, but you really don't know what's reality and what isn't in the course of this thing. And it'll actually do a scene where you'll see a scene play out, and then you find out it didn't really play out that way. It played out this way, and you watch it again. So it gets a little slow and it's a little confusing at times, but it's actually a really good movie. And I don't know what it is, but something about New Zealand accents, I just really like them.
Right.
There's a certain charm to them.
I can agree. That sounds interesting though, because a lot of schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorders, you do have auditory and visual hallucinations and things. So it makes me wonder, is this like some of it from his perspective or something?
Maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, now we're up to my last one. Correct?
Yep.
Now we're on witchcraft. Lon Chaney Jr. once again, two of his. A year later, 1964. I guess I could have just swapped them out. It's only a year. But really, I think we mentioned this last time. The early 60s was a really big time for these kinds of movies. The Poe series, of course, most of those came out then. The Mario Bava movies started coming out. This is an American production, Witchcraft. And I've seen another, I was watching another one that was from around that time as well that we might want to talk about another day. Um, but very good movie. It's very atmospheric. Again, it's still black and white. I only did one color movie this time. The Haunted Palace is my only color movie. But it's back in the black and white. So see if this, you talk about familiar plot lines. See if this plot line sounds familiar. 300 years ago, a woman is burned at the stake and she comes back to life 300 years later and infects another woman and starts terrorizing the countryside. Speaking of Black Sunday from Mario Bava, it's pretty much the same plot. But it was a fairly common plot at the time and it worked very well. You get to see, people burned at the stake kind of thing. And one, two, three or four of my movies end in fire. Now that I look at it, fire. Lots of fire going on in these movies. But it's pretty decent. Cheney is in one of the hoods and everything. He's part of an occult, and he does seances and prayers for witchcraft and things like that. So he's the real warlock. So it's another pretty good one from that era that was so popular at the time. Cheney is starting to really look a little worn in '64. Really, I mean, he looks like he's aged more than just a year from the Haunted Palace, even.
Right.
But he only makes it to the early '70s and really looking shabby by that time. But it's still worth a look. Small budget, independent film. It's called Witchcraft.
All right. Well, to continue with witches, I have some. It's an Italian movie called Witch Story. Now, in when it was released uh, in the United Kingdom, it was called Witch Story. In other English territories, it was released as Superstition 2. The Italians back then they want to tack a name that's already existing to a project, thinking that that's going to make people more interested in it. It has really nothing to do with the first one, but it has a similar plot line. I mean, we're talking about witches' revenge and everything like that. I mean, but with an Italian twist to it. This one I don't own. I found it on YouTube years ago, and I've been looking for it ever since. It's usually in those boutiques where now that they're asking so much money for them, and it's like if you don't get some of these movies right off the bat, and you try to look for them years later, they'll either be up on eBay for like triple the amount, because people think that they got to make money, and they think, oh well, it's out of print, so we can charge whatever we want. And I still think that's wrong, but that's another story. But this one was pretty good. I mean, again, it just has a similar story. Something happened, and they set it in Florida. So I don't know why an Italian film was setting it in Florida, why they used that, but it says basically a diabolical legacy, passing her diabolical legacy to a child, a witch burned alive by the local population, even as the priest had hoped to exorcise her. And then 50 years later, she comes back. It's like, nowadays it's kind of silly because it's, it seems that idea has been basically beaten to death, you know. But if you go with a fresh mind of back to, this was 1989, so tail end of the 80s. It's worth checking out. I mean, but if you're expecting it to be an actual sequel to Superstition, it's not. It's just one of those things. It's not. But it's good. And that's my final one.
Okay. My final one is from 2023, and it's called Watch Me Sleep. And it's a pretty bizarre movie. This guy who we find out was raised by a mother who was into this supernatural coven or whatever, and basically made him go through a bunch of rituals as a kid. So he despised his mother. And at the beginning of the movie, she's passed away, and he's in his hometown for her funeral. And he contacts this guy and has him put a webcam in his mother's coffin so he can watch her body as it's decomposing. And he's got it set up to go for a year. And so he's got a place he can log in, and every once in a while he logs in. And you would think, from the way they advertise the movie, that that's the really creepy part of the movie. But here's the thing, that's not. There's also, like, the demonic cult there is still there, and they're active, and it gets involved, and he starts having these weird dreams and does things in his sleep that he would regret. And it's just, there's a lot going on. One of my biggest issues is he's also a cab driver, or like an Uber type, a cab driver. And there's way too much of him driving the cab because it kind of just doesn't really serve a purpose. It's like, okay, here he is taking somebody else somewhere. That's one of my complaints about the movie. It could have used a lot less of that and more of the other stuff. And the other complaint is it's a British film, and some of the accents are really hard to understand at times, which is a shame because the two friends, him and his friend, they have some banter back and forth that's just hilarious. And it's like, I mean, that's sort of the comic relief of the movie. And you know, I wish I could understand more of it.
Right.
But so that's my final one. So we got through.
Got it. We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were some really good ones. So we went from 1922 to
2023, over 100 years.
over 100 years. That's not bad.
Yeah.
100 years of witches getting burned.
Yeah, I know. Did 101 years there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a lot.
All right. Well, we did again. We got 5 more. And now, if anyone out there has their 5, you know, on top of the 5 from the last one, you know, and it doesn't matter how old or how new it is, you know, if it falls under supernatural or occult type films, even if there's a slight bit to it. I mean, as long as it's like horror or something like that.
As long as it's close.
As long as it's close enough that, you know, you get that feeling of dread. Like what's that in the corner? You know. But again, guys, thanks. I mean, I know this year we kind of fumbled a little bit, but I think we'll get back on track in June.
Hey, you said that last time, and then it jinxed us, I think.
Yeah. let's keep.
Let's
on.
just say we'll see you guys when we see you again, and
yeah,
hopefully we can.
Hopefully in June, but it will be this summer.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Thank you very much for watching this episode. And stay tuned for the next one.